What is your concern with having a training facility in Islip that effectively allows federal agents to undergo the training that they need to effectively do their job?
Absolutely. And I think to better address that question, we have to understand the ecosystem of what's happening on Long Island, right? And so I mentioned the Long Island Ice Tracker application that we've been running now for over a year. We've cataloged well over 800 sightings that have been taking place throughout parts of Long Island, from Nassau to Suffolk, from the most eastern parts of Suffolk County to the most western parts of Nassau. And across all of that data, one thing has become clear. The town of Islip has led Long Island in immigration enforcement activity, and in particular, the communities of Brentwood and Central Islip. You mentioned this as well, that this town is well over 70% Latino, and our communities have been the hardest hit. And so we take issue with the town of Islip literally selling out some of the most marginalized, impacted communities in their township to a federal authority that we know is creating harm, that we know has been holding detainees in unjust conditions at the Central Islip courthouse. We take issue with our township and our local property, right, being used to support an agency that is doing nothing but creating harm.
I'm trying to make the connection between the two, between enforcement by ICE agents in the town of Islip and Brentwood and other communities, and a training facility in the town. Those seem to be two totally separate issues, but you're bringing them together.
100%.
How so?
100%. So this shooting range, which is located on Freeman Avenue in the town of Islip, this contract that the town of Islip has with this federal agency is worth
expires in June.
It does expire in June, and so they have a chance now to let this contract die, and we hope they do that. That contract is worth about $45,000. And so for $45,000, we're seeing the town of Islip literally profit off of this crisis that is impacting their constituents the hardest. And you mentioned, what is this connection between the enforcement activity we're seeing and them training, right? We have documented, and this is something that actually came out of our ICE Tracker application, sightings of individuals who were on Freeman Avenue, where there is a dance studio where children are there frequently, where there are families going in and out, many of them undocumented as well. We have seen those same ERO federal agents, instead of using that shooting range and the facilities that are located on that property, exit that property and go into the streets adjacent to it, running up and down the streets in military fatigues and camouflage, and again, using our local town as staging grounds in preparation for what we know are operations that are targeting immigrant communities the hardest in the most unjust ways possible.
To be sure, point of clarification here, you're not calling therefore for the closure of the facility as a whole, you're calling for the end of the contract for ICE to use the facility.
Absolutely.
Did I get that correct?
This is a shooting range that is used by countless agencies, many of which local that we depend on. Suffolk County Police, Nassau County Police, our fire commissioners as well also use that facility for training purposes. And so what we want to see is our local infrastructure serving those needs and purposes, right? Instead, what we are seeing is that valuable shooting range right now, again, where the town of Islip is profiting from an agency creating harm. We want to see that end. We want to see ICE no longer using local property within the town of Islip to support operations which we know are tearing families apart.
Islip has put out a statement on its website. We'll talk about that, and I'll have you address that when we come back from our break. Stay with us when we come back here on Tiempo. More on the relationship between the town of Islip and the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And then stay with us, because still ahead on Tiempo, the Bellas Fashionistas Foundation works to empower the next generation of Latina leaders through networking and community events, and they do it all with a major focus on the world of golf. Can you believe that? It's great. The foundation will host a Mother's Day golf clinic coming up in a few days. We've got the details on that straight ahead. Welcome back to Tiempo. People in Islip, Suffolk County, are concerned about the town's relationship with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They voiced their concerns in a town hall meeting recently, and they are anxious that Islip allows federal agents to use a town-owned facility for training. The presence of ICE agents in Islip, a community with a roughly 70% Latino population, has sparked significant tension there. Opponents argue tax dollars should not fund an agency that, in their opinion, tears families apart. With us today, Ahmad Perez. He is the founder of Islip Forward. That organization focuses on empowering people in Islip and the surrounding communities. Islip, of course, has its own thoughts on this and put out a statement on its website that reads, in part, "It has been the practice since at least the early 2000s in the town of Islip that has signed agreements to allow the Department of Homeland Security, which Immigration and Customs Enforcement falls under, to allow for the use of the town's rifle range for training purposes. The town's rifle range is one of the very few such facilities on Long Island and serves as a vital role in the training of individuals from law enforcement agencies. So, Ahmed, I guess my question to you, Ahmad, would be, this rifle range has been around for 20 years.
Absolutely.
If there's concern now, why wasn't there concern 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Why all of a sudden are we worried?
Yeah, this agency that we are seeing use our town's rifle range is not the same agency that has existed for now numerous years, right? We have seen, especially at the onset of this administration coming in federally, a change in how immigration enforcement is conducted, not only nationally, but hyper-locally down to our streets and in our communities. We have seen now ICE agents outside of schools, outside of delis. We had documented them on the first day of classes outside of Brentwood High School. Again, a community that is leading Long Island in immigration enforcement activity. So we see issue with the town of Islip allowing a federal agency, again, a different federal agency than one that used to be using that rifle range, one that is now inflicting harm, one that is now literally terrorizing communities every single day as they navigate their daily lives and go to shop for groceries, go to do laundromats. I mentioned out of the 800 plus sightings we have collected through our ICE Tracker application, hundreds upon hundreds have been located within the town of Islip, specifically within Brentwood, while families are starting their day, while families are just out navigating their lives. And we take issue again with the town of Islip profiting off of this contract and literally taking money from an agency